All right, let's see what's going on. What in the world? Holy cow. Tommy, OG, Marie, Jan. Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. Oh, hold on. We're in the wrong spot. There we go. There we go. Let's see. Where is it? Where's the merge? There's the merge. Merge, merge, merge. There we go. All right, now we're good. Now we're good. Hello, Tommy. Hello, Marie. Hello, Jan. Hello, Michael, if you're still there. OG Gamer. Original Gangster. Original Gangster. You'll have to help me with that one. My memory is the pits. Rich is here. Low. Low means audio or camera. Whoop. Turnkey Data Solutions. Woohoo! You made it. Someone is letting the beard grow. Well, you know, it was a thing. I just wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if Sandy likes it. Actually, truth be told, she didn't notice. No, she did. So I'm experimenting. I'm experimenting. I think I'll let it get long like that, like the what's his name, Jack from Twitter. Yeah. You're always working. Well, now's time for a lunch break or a late afternoon snack break. Did anybody see Rich's underwater camera where he did the salmon? It was a couple of weeks ago. That was pretty cool. The K key is not working today. Oh no. That was like, what was it? When George W. Bush went out of office and Obama came into office, the rumor was that all the No. When Bill Clinton left office and George W. Bush came into office as president of the U.S., the Clinton staff took all the W's off the keyboard in the staff offices. She was just letting me have my fun. That's right. Let's take Rooney off here for a second and give him a break. Yes. Greetings from the heart of the bluegrass. Thank you, Clint. Glad to have you. Yeah, suddenly she'll grab me and pull me along to her shoe. You know, she's not a big shoe nut. She likes tennis shoes. She's actually a very, very classy dresser. But she's very she's just got a look. I learned about 40 years ago not to buy her clothes because my tastes are not her tastes. Hey, did any of you guys see the vMix Fun Time live show last night? Turnkey Data says, if someone would take my K key, I would be able to get a new one. Well, that's good. That's good. Right away? In time to write work? So let's see. Who did I see? I didn't see any. Tommy was in the audience last night because we chatted early on. And Tim says he did. Tommy said he did. Okay. Good. And Bill said, you'll depend on me to keep you up to date. Well, you're in trouble, my friend. Oh my gosh. It was a good show. It was interesting. We'll talk about this in just a few minutes. We'll talk more about the show, but it was interesting that it was that Tim did not produce the show. That their new guy, who is yet unnamed, although I did see him in a video lately. I need to go look up and see what his name is. Um, the new guy, the new vMix guy, yeah. He was the one that produced the show, we think, because they showed his picture at the very beginning. So that's how we know. Let's see how to control.
Shortcuts dedicated to making the process a bit easier.
There he is.
Welcome. I'm Heath from vMix, and today I'll be showing you how to use shortcuts to control layers.
Heath. Okay, that's who it was. It was Heath. So let's bring in Heath. What the heck, Heath? Welcome to the Streaming Idiot Show. Heath, let's see if we can find Heath and get him in here. Here's Heath. Whoop, let's turn on some sound.
Welcome. I'm Heath from vMix, and today I'll be showing you how to use shortcuts to control layers in your production, just like the earlier demonstration. Before we go further, you might be asking, why use layers when I can use vMix?
All right, and that was Heath from vMix. How about that? Congratulations. Welcome, Heath. We're glad you're one of the vMix guys. Yes, indeedy. The vMix shows are too late, too early in the morning, even for Jan. Yeah, you know, they have a problem. They have a problem because they appeal to people in every time zone in the world. And so there's never a good time. Hey, Chris, welcome, sir. I remember it was probably the first year they had the show. At one point, they had it at 4 in the morning, U.S. 4 in the morning for me, which was probably 5 in the morning in Eastern time, and that would have been 2 in the morning for you, those of you on the West Coast. And I got up to watch the show, and it was in the winter, and I was all bundled up in a blanket. It was great. It was great. Might have even gotten some hot chocolate, although that may just be a sort of a romantic memory instead of a real memory. Tommy says they had a spammer last night. Well, they did have some people that I don't think they understood how to do the chat. Because one person, I think they posted their post like 8 or 10 times in a row, and then somebody else kept asking the same question over and over again, and that was intentional. Because there would be, you know, a minute or two between the times they asked it, and I don't think that's going to get you anything but ignored. At least that's what it was last night. Oh my gosh. But it was an interesting show. It was an interesting show. If I might give a little critique, because of course I have plenty of room to be critical, that they need to work on their transitions between their videos and the live, because there's always kind of that pause at the end of the video, whatever it was, and the Vitali, of course, my bad. The audio would fade, and they would cut, and then there would be this sort of pause. And I think you need to kind of catch the end of the audio to begin your monologue or your part. And that's what I try to do in the opening part of the show. You'll notice in just a minute that as the jaws of death open up and the song is still playing, I'll try to ride on top of that just a little bit with a welcome of some kind. Yeah, Martin looked like he backed into a lawnmower head first. It was just shaved. Yep, I got my winter cut here. All right, well, let's get on with the show. I think this is going to be pretty cool. And let me make sure my phone is off here, and that I haven't gotten anything. Yeah, so let's turn the audio down. That's good. And we're good. It may hum or buzz, but at least it won't shout. All right, so we get the keyboards where we can reach them. We've got our X keys, XK90, 80, not a 90, right here, that we updated with some cool shortcuts. including this shortcut. Yeah, so we'll be using that. That's not exactly the sound I was looking for. I was looking for the ding, 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 kind of the idea sign, and this is the game show. So we'll work on that. All right, here we go. Ready? I'm ready. You're ready. Let's be ready. Let's go. Yeah, there we go. All right, welcome. I am Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots, and we're so glad to have you this afternoon. Those of you that are watching us on YouTube live, we have your comments. I can see them right there. For those of you that are watching on Facebook, in the Streaming Idiots group, you have to be a member of the group to watch that. And unfortunately, since it's a membership group, the privacy statement from Facebook doesn't allow us to glean the comments from that and bring them into the show like we can with the YouTube comments. So we're not going to be responding to as many of those. So the simple solution is to come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com and watch there. And that's the YouTube feed. You can go to the Stream Live page, and that will also give you the chat, which is also a lot of fun. I think that's one of the most fun parts. A couple of things of note before we get started. Today's show, today's show is going to be, can we do this? Yeah, let's get rid of that. And today's show is going to be dreaming about vMix 25. Last night, the vMix guys started the conversation. So we're going to continue the conversation in just a minute. But before we do, excuse me, something's blooming here. I don't know what it is. Before we do, I want to make sure that, what do I want to make sure? I want to make sure two things. Well, one thing for sure. We were going to do kind of a more in-depth update on the 18-core CPU that we built for the city of Daytona Beach and Bethune-Cookman University to use. But I'm not ready to share that with you. I mean, the PC's already installed and just blowing the doors down, but I'm not ready to share that information with you. I just don't have it all together in the way I'd like. Plus, I have invited, although I just did it a few minutes ago, so he probably hasn't even seen his email yet, inviting the audiovisual director to come on the show soon, hopefully next week, and we can talk about the system and he can show it off remotely. So I think that might be really, really cool and more fun than just listening to me talk about something, to actually have it there. But it's an 18-core beast with a 3080 Ti graphics card, and I was telling one of the IT guys about the specs on the card, and his eyes just kept getting bigger and bigger. So it was fun. The other thing is, and I meant to do it today. If I have time, I'll do it before the show ends. But Rudy was able to get me the URL for the sort of a GoFundMe page where you can make donations in memory of Martin Steed. Martin Steed's our good friend in England that died, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, of complications with COVID, and he's dearly missed. And oh golly, and Maggie sent me, one sec, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And I actually scanned this and had intended to just bring it up in a scan, and I might be able to do that too. But Maggie sent me this great collage photo of Martin and a group from IBC, and then the vMix bowling group that Martin was involved with too. This was IBC 2 years ago. So anyway, I'll have a link to the GoFundMe. I'll make sure I put that into the YouTube description for this, and I'll put it into the Facebook page too, so that you can make a donation. It was a group of mostly young people that Martin worked with. They were special folks, and so it was a group that was near and dear to his heart, and so we can remember him and honor him by making a small or a large donation to that organization. So just cheers to Maggie for this beautiful collage. It is going to have a suitable frame and hang here in the Streaming Idiot studio. Now, switching gears and on to other things. Let's see, what are we trying to do here? We're trying to do this. So we're dreaming about vMix 25. Now, Martin Sinclair, my 19th cousin, possibly, the CEO of vMix, he let the cat out of the bag last night by saying that the feature set for vMix 25 was closed. They had already decided. Not only had they decided, but they had already implemented some of the new features in vMix 25. So they had written and installed the way it was. Am I tongue-tied yet? The way it was related last night was that there were kind of 4 features that they were going to include. That 2 of them were sort of major features, and 2 of them were not major features. Minor features, you might call them. So today's show is to say, what are we going to get? What are we going to get? If we can get anything that we want to get, what can we get? Well, I had a list, and it's in no particular order. Well, yeah, it's really in no particular order, especially if you don't like the ones that I like. But I was thinking, what kind of features do those of us that use vMix on a regular basis, what kind of features would we like to see? And I thought, okay, well, one of the things that I miss, well, I don't miss it, but I feel like I'm limited, is that I don't have enough overlay channels. Yeah, I know I can use the 10 layers in each input as overlay channels, but I need more than 4 overlay channels that I can use on a regular basis. And so it would be really nice to double the number of overlay channels from 4 to 8, so that I can arrange 8 at a time. So that's I won't say that's number 1 on my list, but it's the first one that I've got up here, which was more overlay channels. Second was more input tabs. Sorry, the little line right there just kind of runs through. That's a tab. And the input tabs, those are the little colored boxes on the vMix interface between the preview pane and the inputs down below. And you're like, colored boxes? What colored boxes? Well, those colored boxes are the bins or the file cabinets or the places where you can drag inputs to. So if you've got, like today, I've got 75 inputs in this production. Now, I'm not using all of them. Some of them are ones that I used last week and that I'll use again next week. But I want them in this preset because this is my Streaming Idiots preset. And I want all those available should I need them on the fly. So I've got 75 of them, but I can't see all 75 on my screen at the same time. That doesn't make sense. True North Colorado calls them organizational tabs. Thank you. And that's probably the official name. But if you don't know what they are, go discover them. You'll love them. I have a tab here, the red tab, the red box. And by the way, if you click that box, if you right click it, it'll bring up the ability to name it, and then you'll have little labels on all of them. So my gray one, which is the first one, is my all tab, because that's what it is. It's all. You don't have a choice of what's there. The second one, the red one, is my show tab. The green one is my vMix call tab. The yellow one is my camera tab. The magenta or purple one is my graphics and titles tab. My light blue is my audio, and my dark blue is my pre-show, post-show tab. And I'd like a couple of more. I would definitely like a couple more. And I remember talking with Martin about this. It was probably at IBC in 2019, and said, why can't? He said, oh, I can. I just don't have I need more colors. And I'm thinking, number one, use the same colors over and over again. I'll figure it out. The other is use a checkerboard of red and white, or green and white, or yellow and white, or something with lines through it, white lines through it, or black lines through it. I mean, I'll figure it out, but give me an option to it. When Bill's asking in the chat, is there a guarantee we can get organized? And I guarantee you, Bill, that if you'll use these tabs, you'll probably lose some stuff. No, you can't lose it because everything stays in the all tab. All is what I've called it. You may call it something different. Anyway, so I would like to have. We've got 2, 4, 6. We've got 6 of those. Oh, and by the way, you've got a little search bar in there too, where you can search for the different inputs and find them. So the 7th one, well, 2, 4, 6. I guess if you include all, that's 7. The 8th one is now a search, where I can do a search on, vMix call, and all the titles of all the inputs that had the word vMix call in it would appear in that. So it becomes a de facto 8th tab in that sense. So more input tabs. That's not a major feature. I mean, nobody's going to upgrade to vMix to get, well, I would, but most people wouldn't. What about integrate with NDI 5.0? That's a no-brainer. My guess would be that the vMix 24.0.0.72, it probably already has NDI 5.0 in it. Maybe not all of it, but some of it. There's some under the hood changes in NDI 5.0, and I know Martin was saying that they were going to kind of wait until things had smoothed out a little bit with that. And so I think if that hasn't already happened by the beta release of version 25 of vMix, that it should. Yeah. So NDI 5.0 and all the goodies that are in that. Virtual sets. What about virtual sets? The virtual sets that are in vMix, the cheesy ones that have been there since the very beginning are still there, and they still look cheesy. What about some nicely crafted virtual sets that, again, where maybe you've got 3 different camera shots, you've got a head-on shot, you've got a 45 right and a 45 left, and then some instruction on how to set up your studio and where to set your cameras and all that kind of stuff. I've seen people use virtual sets, and it just tickles me because I have a little desk, and it'll be like the desk is here and the person's head is here. And I'm like, no, the desk belongs there. The person has to be smaller to sit at that desk, that kind of thing. So some new virtual sets, and then some good tutorials on to how to set them up. I would like that. What about NDI HX output? Now, would that be part of NDI 5.0? Maybe, maybe not. Don't know what the developer's toolkit looks like for that. But it would be nice to have the option to output NDI in the lightweight HX format. Because if I start outputting, all my vMix calls and all my cameras, and I'm actually using those somewhere else, my network, it's a gigabit network, but it could just get jammed up really, really quickly. But if I had the option to output those as NDI HX, then the game has changed. Here's some good examples. Let's say that I want to have more than one multi-view in my studio because I've got a lot of inputs, and so I want to be able to have 2 or 3 monitors with NDI, with multi-views on them. I'm limited to the number of outputs I can have in vMix anyway, and I would really like to customize my own multi-view outputs. And if I could do those as NDI outputs, then I wouldn't have to use all my other outputs. But NDI, it's a bandwidth killer. If I could do them as NDI HX, it would be a whole lot easier on my network to be able to do it that way. So NDI HX, that's an output option. Just a little tick box or, a little green box. I know how Martin likes his gray and green boxes. A little green box that we can do that. Yeah. Okay. What is the next one? Oh, my favorite one. You know how vMix has a client called Desktop Capture? It's a little free it comes with vMix when you download it. Or you can go to their website and get it, and you can put it on another computer on your network that doesn't necessarily have vMix on it, but it will capture everything on the desktop of that, including the audio, and make it available as an NDI feed from that PC to the vMix PC. Well, what about an NDI? What about a vMix call client that might use the new NDI that, goes from network to network all over the world, and would allow you then to have more control because it's a client, not a browser. And that client would have the ability to bring in camera and to bring in audio and to output audio, and maybe have some other settings that you can't get with the vMix browser, with the vMix call in a browser. Last night, somebody mentioned in the vMix Funtime Live show in the chat, why not use a feature like Zoom has, which allows a participant to temporarily unmute their audio by pressing the space bar, or pressing and holding the space bar, or however you want to implement it. But if you have a client, little application that lives on the PC, it doesn't have to be dependent upon whatever functions are in the browser. So I think a vMix call client that you could send to your client as a download and install this, and maybe it's already pre-configured with a password that I've given them. So here it is. Whenever I set up a vMix call, it gives me the option to produce a custom client. How about that? Do you like that one? I like that one a whole lot. And it may do away with some of the incompatibilities that we have in using, browsers. Browsers. How many browsers are they? How many different versions of any single browser could a potential user be using? No wonder we get such crazy results sometimes from vMix call, because who knows what people are using out there. They're using whatever they can find, whatever they get. But maybe we can control it a little bit more by having a client that would take control of the remote PC, or at least take control of certain features like the camera and the audio, with permission, of course. It's not going to be a bully. Yeah. And Brew LaFou said that was me that asked about the key press in vMix. great job. That's probably what got me thinking about the vMix call client right here. Is the fact that you don't have control over the browser. You need something you've got more control over. So what about a little app? A little app. So that's my vote for the #1 feature. Now, meanwhile, Martin and Tim are watching this video going, oh, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. We could do that. Yeah, we could figure out how to do that. And we'd have a Windows version, and we'd have a Mac version. They've already said that they don't want to do the iOS and Android app stuff. I get that. How many people are using their phone for vMix call versus how many people are using their PC for vMix call now? And then how many people would be using their PC for vMix call if they had this great app that would allow them to do all the cool stuff they want to do? Yep. And it would allow you, the app would allow you, as Jan says in the chat, to have your camera, your webcam. If it's a laptop, maybe your integrated cam, although that's not the best cam in the world generally. If you and basically it would be able to select any Windows camera source, which would be your webcams, and any Windows audio source, which would be anything. If you had vMix, you wouldn't need this app because you just do a vMix to vMix call. But there's one more on this list that I want to that I didn't make up a graphic for, and you're just going to have to take my word for it. But I think, let me gather my thoughts together on that one. Let me hold off on that one for just a second. Let me just hold off on that one for just a second. Michael says such a client would be what's called a captive browser, just a browser core with a custom UI wrapper around it. Yeah, maybe, unless it integrated the new NDI 5 ability to make a connection over the internet as opposed to just the local area connection. So if that's the case, then it might have to be more than just a browser. So yeah. Jan says they don't need to make the apps, they can make the APIs and allow third persons to develop and sell the software. Yeah, and they've done that to some degree. I don't know that they have actively sought out people to do that, and kind of opened up the Pandora's box of secrets for those people, but rather have sort of said, if you want to do something like that, go right ahead. But I don't know that they've solicited apps the same way, for example, that NewTek solicited people to develop for NDI. I don't think vMix has solicited people to develop for the vMix API. Frankly, I don't think they have the time. There's just not enough minutes in the day, even though Martin Sinclair probably only sleeps 3 hours every 36 hours. There's still not enough hours in the day to do what it is you want to do. I was thinking as I was going over this list, what kind of improvements, for example, would we want to see in vMix Instant Replay? And then I remembered vMix 24 is like all about vMix Instant Replay, and so it's been over a year since we've had this major update. Kevin tickles me. He says, I need to tune in more. I've been staring at these tabs for a year now. Well, thank you, Kevin. That made my day. And you definitely need to tune in more. There's no doubt about it. And you need to tune in live, because then You get recognition. So there you go. Oh my gosh. Michael Graves says, if I were making such an app, and he's talking about the vMix call client right here, he would abandon WebRTC in favor of SRT, which is an interesting thought. Of course, it would have to be bidirectional SRT because it's, a two-way call. But I think, and it brings up a kind of a philosophical question at that point, because from what I understand, the NDI, the WWW NDI, or the WWF, as it would be, World Wrestling Federation. The international version of NDI now is a little bit of a takeoff of SRT. And it will be interesting to see once more and more people are using the NDI, the international NDI, what kind of experience they're having with it. And the value of SRT, secure, reliable transport, is what it's a protocol for communication, typically one-way communication of video and audio, in a way that is secure and reliable in the sense that, every pixel is going to get there, secure, reliable transport. It requires latency, a fixed latency in order for it to work. And that fixed latency can be, 200 milliseconds, can be 500, 700 milliseconds. In one sense, it doesn't matter because it's just going one way. But if you start using SRT for two-way communication, now you've got to squish that latency down really, really low, and you lose reliability when you lower the latency. So unless we can, have some sort of machine that can go like 500 milliseconds into the future, then we could fix it. Yep. Rich is suggesting that vMix 25 have built-in communications for cam ops. That's interesting. Of course, you'd have to have more, you might have to have more outputs, audio outputs. I'd have to think that one through a little bit. Interesting. Michael Quist says SRT, isn't it still problematic to get network problems, getting corporations to allow it? And vMix Call has the same problem. You've got to open some ports for that, and there's some people that just simply won't allow it. And he also says in vMix 25 you can use it says can use one of the left channels for producer to talk to commentators. Oh, that's a thought. You could probably do that right now. Jan says that SRT is not an issue in enterprise networking, but NDI certainly is. Okay, so there's a little pushback on my NDI idea. That's all right. I don't claim any special skill or knowledge in this area, just longevity. Rich says, if someone can develop a cloud service for SRT, RTMP, RTPS, it would be a Swiss Army knife for inputs for remote production. That would be true. That would be true. And I think that's what NewTek was trying to do. Instead of saying we're going to find a tool that matches up with all these protocols, and we're going to monitor it and change and update as those protocols change and update. Instead, they just created one that they could control that would have all the advantages of all of those features. True North Colorado says producer can usually talk to the announcers with the mixer itself, and that would be true if they were all in the same location. But think about if you've got a diversified location where you've got maybe announcers that are remote and a producer that's in a studio, and then camera folks that are on site. Suddenly you've got you've got to rely on the internet to get that communication across, and there are lots of solutions out there right now, and there are lots of people that are using lots of different things, but it would be nice to have something that was intended and designed for that purpose. Yeah, it's a good idea. I'm still waiting for that other idea to kind of formulate in my mind in the way that it would make sense to you. It may have to bubble up a little bit longer. But I would say of all of these, this one is my favorite. The vMix call client. If we can have a vMix call client that we can send pre-configured to a remote guest. Kind of like sending them, what a lot of people are doing. They're getting a little encoder, like a KiloView or something like that, and pre-programming it for the the SRT channel or whatever they're using, and sending it to the client. All the client has to do is plug the camera in, plug internet in, and they're streaming. And so something like this would just be a software device that would have the address, the vMix call password in it, and have all the necessary connection so that it connect across the internet. WebRTC, NDI, SRT. I don't care. I don't care what's under the hood. I just want to go 900 miles an hour. We'll let the mechanics and the engineers figure out what goes under the hood. Yeah. So there you go. So that's my list. Right there. That's the money shot. That's the money shot. And we'll do this one too. Oh, no, don't have that one working. How about that? I have an X keys that I haven't programmed the key on yet. Maggie, can you imagine that? I can imagine that. So the other piece of news about vMix 25. I should have had one button to take them all off, but I ran out of time. The other piece of news about vMix 25 is the release date. A release date has not been pinned yet, but a tentative beta release has been pegged for Christmas, says Martin Sinclair, not me. He said it last night, like to have it by Christmas. Wouldn't that be fun to have a new version of vMix to open up under the Christmas tree and be able to play with all during Christmas holidays? Yeah. By the way, if you're watching this show on Facebook, thank you, but you're missing out on the great, I can see it right across the room, the great chat that's going on from YouTube. So we'll share some of that with you in the post show, which is coming up right now. If I can help you in any way, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do an advertisement. Byron says, I always have to promote yourself, Tom. You have to have a call to action. I design and build PCs primarily for vMix. I think I've built one for Wirecast, maybe two, but those ended up becoming PC users after a while anyway. And love to build them for churches and schools and cities and universities and individuals and racetracks and you name it. We've had great success in all those fields. So if your church or your organization has been, kind of stumbling along with a PC that maybe somebody built for you or you bought from Amazon or Dell or something like that, and just wasn't configured the way it needed to be. It wasn't optimized for vMix. That's what I do. I tell you what, you can send me your old PC or let me get access to it online, and I can check and see if we can upgrade it in some way to optimize it for vMix, or I can build you a new one. That would be even better. but I also sell and support vMix. If you buy your vMix license from me, for the same prices from vMix, by the way, you get free, unlimited technical support from me personally, plus all the tech support that vMix adds to it, which is email support, the great forum. If you haven't discovered the vMix forum, you need to. It's forums plural, forums.vmix.com. It's a treasure trove of problems and solutions and discussions about vMix, and that's where vMix will typically they'll release their notes on each of the versions of vMix. We're at version 24.0.0.72. Well, what's different between .72 and .71? If you go to the forum, you can read the notes on what's new. And Byron is reminding me that I need to talk about our vMix 101 class, which we are going to try to squeeze in another class before the end of the year. It's a 6-week class. We cover vMix from top to bottom, and it's been a great class. If you buy a PC from us, you get the class for free. The class is I don't remember the price of the class, but it's not cheap, but it's full of value. So there you go. True North Colorado is talking about the vMix knowledge base. Yes, that's a great area of support. That's on the vMix website. If you go to vmix.com, go to support, the knowledge base is one of the great areas where there are probably, 100, maybe 200 articles that the vMix guys have written over the years to talk about some of the difficulties people experience when they try to do something new for the first time and they don't quite get it right. The knowledge base, a lot of times, will have an article about that. In addition to the knowledge base, there's a link there to hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos, mostly by Tim, some by Martin, and some now by Heath. Welcome. Way to go, Heath. And so you want to make sure of those. Yep. Last question. And then we're going to go to the post show. Yes, the post show. Kevin says, do you think the upgrade to 25 will be a freebie? Or if we have to purchase, can we purchase through you and get your support? Well, you can always purchase through me and get my support. But my guess is as the official release of 25 comes due, which my guess would be NAB-ish, like April maybe of 2022, they'll make that really, really clear. But they have been, let me give you my history. My interpretation of the history of upgrades in vMix. When I joined the vMix world, vMix was at vMix, 12 or 11 or something like that. And they had a policy that in order to upgrade from one version to the next, if you'd owned this version for more than a year, you had to pay an upgrade fee of $60. And that gave you free upgrades for the next 12 months. But they didn't enforce it. Anybody could go and download the latest version, install it, and it would work. And they just sort of, blithely looked the other way. And then about 4 years ago, maybe 3, they decided to start enforcing it. And maybe it was 4. Anyway, for a period of 2 years, maybe 3, maybe less than 2, something like that, they enforced that. And you had to pay $60 if your license was more than a year old. When COVID hit, they sort of dropped that, and they said if you've got vMix version like 21 or higher, you can upgrade for free. And now I think there's a date like January 2020, maybe. If your version is newer than that, then you can update for free. But if it's older than that, then you have to pay an update fee. So it's a little bit of a moving target, but it's only $60. If you don't have $60 and you want to upgrade, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can squeeze a freebie out here or there. But my guess would be that the beta, to answer your question, Kevin, that the beta 25 would probably be something that everybody that can currently get an update for free will be able to get for free. Even if you've got a February 2020 version of vMix, you probably will be able to get the beta for free. But, I don't have the authority to answer that question. You're just getting my opinion. So there you go. There you go. Let's go to post-show. Be right back. All right, so we're in the post show. Jan says, let me get Rooney out of the way. Sorry, Rooney. Says, I think the upgrade cost will follow the history. If you purchase within 24 months, you purchase 24 within 12 months, you'll get it free. I think it'll be a little bit more liberal than that. But, that's just me. That's just me. What can I say? What can I say? Jan again with a nice comment about NDI. So maybe NDI 5 will fix this thousands of subnets issue. I think that's probably something they've heard time and time again, Jan. So we'll see if that's... Michael, I've had this same conversation with Martin about 2 GPUs, and wouldn't it be better and this, that, or the other. Why is this phone bugging? Oh, somebody's at the front door. I'll have to wait. And it's at my house where I'm not. In talking with Martin, if you add 2 NVIDIA GPU cards that vMix doesn't have or didn't have at that time, the ability to distinguish between the 2. And so when it asked the NVIDIA chipset to do something, both cards would try to do it. And so it actually slowed your performance instead of speeding it. And that may be an old explanation. It probably has at least been a year or more since I've had that conversation or seen somebody answer that question. Now if there's a way for isolating one of those GPUs as an NDI card and one as a vMix card, then that's a different story. But at this point, I don't think they're ready to do that. I did ask last night if since NVIDIA cards are so difficult to get a hold of, at least here in the States. I mean, I get them in onesies and twosies, but I can't buy a case of them. If there wasn't a way to, do some under the hood tweaks to vMix to make better use of the AMD card. And, Martin answered that question very succinctly and said, essentially, no, that it's the NVIDIA hardware encoder that he's after, and that the AMD cards simply don't have a hardware encoder. And so that's the difference. Now he said, you don't have to have an NVIDIA card. You can do CPU. So, if your budget allows you to do a 10-core CPU or a 16-core CPU or something like that, and you just simply can't get an NVIDIA card today, you can still run vMix and still do well with it. But outside of that, it's, excuse me, just one second. I got to have a mute button here. Nope, my mute button wasn't set up. My apologies. Gee whiz. Got to go get that mute button set back up again. I reinstalled everything on the PC and I haven't done this yet. Yeah. So let's see. This is a great question from Turnkey Data Solutions that needs an enterprise license. And I've approached vMix about this, and I know other people have approached vMix about this. I mean, I've had Amazon and Microsoft approach me as a vMix reseller wanting to buy an enterprise license, a a site license. And, Martin and Tim, I know they've wrestled with it and they just haven't come up with a solution that they're happy, excuse me, goodness, that they're happy with. And so at this point, there is just not an enterprise license. So there you go. Jan has a few subnets. And a couple of data centers. But he's not bragging. It's not bragging if it's true, right? Hey, Ron. Welcome, sir. Glad to have you. So the solution was just to isolate, right, Ron? I mean, Jan, just isolate yourself. Yep. I think that is probably a good solution, because it protects the organization from you and it protects you from the organization. Who was it I was talking to the other day that just about brought down their network because all of a sudden they were sending out and people were using a variety. Oh, goodness. Sorry, I need a yawn cam. A variety of NDI outputs, inputs, and it just trashed the network. I mean, if you've got a gigabit network and you're sending full NDI, which could be 100, 120 megs on a gigabit network, you can't get more than 6 or 7 feeds before you start degrading the network, and it could be fewer than that. Could be fewer than that. What do you think should be in NDI? Should be in vMix 25. I mean, 25 is a pretty interesting number. It's a quarter, 25%. It's been one of my favorite numbers over the years. 25. I like anything with a 5 in it because it's easy to do the math. You add it, subtract it, multiply it, divide it. If it's got 5s in it, it works out pretty well. Not everything works that way. Yeah, I'm thinking about 4s. No, not the same. Not the same. Yeah, and and it is a great age, isn't it? Isn't it, Michael? Michael and I are still 25, so there we go. So it'd be interesting what features we might see in vMix that would be keyed to the number 25. You remember a couple of years ago, vMix came out on, I think they released it on April 1st, or they had a Fun Time live show on April 1st or something like that, and they actually added a feature to vMix that appeared to be an April Fool's Day joke, which was the voice command. But they really did add it. I tried it a couple of weeks later, and it was a horrible, horrible experience because I didn't make it as specific as it could have been, should have been. But it was a great example of don't use a tool that you don't know how to use. Oh my gosh. So there we go. And my friend Kenny Hampton with wisdom on age. There we go. Good old vMix voice. It was a good try. Although there probably could be some ways where I could use it I mean, just to say Rooney and to have Rooney appear. Where is Rooney? There's Rooney. Or to have him as an on-off switch and say, "Get out of here, Rooney." Let's try to set that up one time. I was thinking about trying to set it up now, but I need to go. It's been great hanging out with you this afternoon, this evening, this morning, wherever you might be. If you're at vMix, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you're up now, you're mighty brave or foolish. We'll take one more question since it's about my favorite subject from one of my favorite people. How did my 24 core build go? Actually, it was an 18 core build. It was a Intel CPU. It was an 18, and it went beautifully. Did the install a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really happy with it. Client's really happy with it, and we're hoping to have the client on the show soon to talk about the system and how they're using it and what they're doing with it. And it's a TriCaster killer. Yeah, it is. I mean, they pulled a perfectly functional TriCaster out and replaced it with this system. So yeah, we'll see. Thank y'all for tuning in. We will see you next week on Streaming Idiots. So be ready. And thanks for watching.